Hey, welcome, welcome. So good to see you here today with me, whether you're watching live, like Chalet is in the house, or watching on replay, that's okay too. Um so, welcome. I thought we'd change it up instead of talking about Gen X to start anyway. We'd start talking about the Maui fires, and particular the Lahaina fires, um, and kind of maybe just go over what we know. Woo 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 woo. um, and then just see where we go from there. So, all right, should we jump in? What do we know? It's been 2 weeks, and the numbers keep changing, but it's not like they go up and down, and different news sources and different government agencies are reporting different things. Um, I think the official death toll is still 115. It's been that forever, um, and but the number of missing keeps changing. Um, so we know that the fire. Let's start at the beginning. Land grab. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Possibly. Oh gosh, darn! I didn't. I didn't go into the YouTube studio and say to have the comments, showing on the replay. So I'm sorry about that. Which way should I go? I guess I should go this way, so that I'm not in the middle of the comments. Um, so let's start at the beginning. We know that the fire started with the power lines. I'm still over. Like, I got to come over here more. Okay. Um, so there was high winds due to a hurricane that was south of uh, Hawaii, but the winds were hurricane force, um, and that caused some power line issues and arcing, and power lines fell, um, and a fire was started. Okay, fact one: we know that a fire started, um, and that initial, at least the initial fire. Oh, you've been watching the Hawaii real estate guy. Yeah, his name is Eric West, I have found out. And yes, I get a lot of information from him too, because he's interviewing people on the ground. In fact, I've got a clip that we're going to watch from him. Um, I've got it queued up, just a spot, so we don't have to watch the whole video, because I always want to encourage people to go check out the real one and direct traffic to them. Um, Real survivors, yes. Um, so, uh, so we know that that's how the initial fire started. Fact one. Fact two, I should make little hashtags, maybe some on some scratch paper, because otherwise I'm going to lose count. Get my little handy dandy pen. Okay, just hash marks. 1, 2. Second thing, there were people fighting those grass fires, and there were fire trucks, and there were people with even with just garden hoses or whatever, because while it's not populated, there were some houses up there, uh, but there were fire. The fire department did arrive, when it was at the grass fire stage, we'll say. And so at that point, they were getting it. First count witness, the man who was fighting that fire at that stage, said, "We almost had it contained." That's his words. And then the water got shut off. So fact number two, the water got shut off so that that fire could not be put out. All right. So those are two facts that we know. Water shut off. Exactly. So let's jump to fact number three at this point. And we'll go more into it later, I think. But so earlier in that day, because of the high winds, kids did go to school. They did not close school. They did not, in the morning, say it's a snow day kind of thing. There's no school today. Kids were at school and they were sent home from school, because I had to look at that in here, explaining why the kids were at home. Oh, wait, I'm not sharing my screen. Why do I do that? Okay, so give me a second to like get this. That's okay. I had to get there was an ad playing. I wanted to stop that first. Um, all right, so share screen, present, share screen, and in fact, I think at this time I'm just going to share the entire screen because we don't need to hear anything. Oh, look, there's a box that says I can share the audio system with the entire screen. That must be a new function. No. Oh, I have to click on it. There we go. Oh, well, that's cool. That's a new function, because before it could only have the audio if it was on the one single tab. All right, so let me share with you this. So explaining why the kids of Lahaina were at home on a school day, the Hawaii State Department of Education said that on August 8th, Lahaina's largest school, the high school, was closed early. Okay, now they're just talking about the high school there, was closed early because of a power outage caused by strong winds coming from the incoming Category 4 Hurricane Dora. So even if the kids went to school, they were sent back home early while their parents were still at work. Okay, so we're just talking about that being a fact. So that's number 3. The kids were sent home. So let me share you this. This has just come out in the last 5 days ago. And what this is saying, this 2025 students, I read through the story. And this is from the Honolulu Star Advisor. That's the name of their newspaper. Okay, so it's a local source newspaper. They've, for the new school year that's starting, of all the students that were enrolled before, 2025 Lahaina students have not enrolled. Now, they don't know if that's because they are, they moved, if they decided to go to a different school or something. They do have this total number includes registering for going to a school building as well as distance learning, includes both. And the story has the number of people that have enrolled, which is less than 1,000. It's a couple of hundred to I think 500 to the regular school and 300 something for the distance learning. But 2025 have still not enrolled. So they're not saying that this number is missing. They're just saying that they had been enrolled before and they're not enrolled now. Okay. So let me just come back over here and stop sharing the screen for a minute. They took them, just thinking out loud. Okay. So let's just think out loud about that for a moment. Okay. It's not a hashtag of a mark. Okay. Wait, I should have another hashtag though, because we just did that they were sent home and that there's a number over 2,000 that have not enrolled back in, which may be missing, but we don't know that number is missing. Okay, so let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit on a sidetrack. if the kids were taken, how would that play out? Did they go home and then they like went door to door and took kids and said, "Oh, there's a fire. Come with us. We'll help you escape." And then they took them someplace? That's a possibility. But you would think at that point, if that's what would happen, that there were other neighbors that were trying to escape that would have seen a van or a bus or something, somebody picking up kids, right? I would think so. I would think there would be some witnesses to that if it happened like that. You think they were taken because the whole thing was planned, even though there was a hurricane and all. I think it's very possible that powers that be can have planned events ready to go, waiting for a perfect opportunity. I think that's very possible. You know what? I'm going to have to like put this down a little bit so that I'm above the comments. So I thought, so how, if that was the case, how would it happen? What would make sense? What would the plan be? How would you take the kids? And the only thing that I can come up with is that if the kids weren't walking home and they were, okay, we're closing school, everybody's at school, we're closing the school, you have to go home. And so they had to get on the school bus to go home. But instead of taking them home, they took them someplace else. So those kids were never at home alone. Now, if that was the case, then were there parents that called the kids when they were at home? Hey, Johnny, how are you? Did you eat your lunch? What are you doing? Did they have contact with kids? Because if they did, then that blows that out of the window, right? The exact conditions were right. You have been trying to say that to your mom, but she rolls her eyes. Oh, that they could have been taken. Yeah. But we're trying to stick to facts. So they're missing. We don't know if they're dead or not. There is a case. And so let me share my screen again. This is the only story that I've been able to see. Entire screen. And I just put this one up. So this boy right here, this is him here. They were getting ready to celebrate his 15th birthday, I believe. And I guess this is a picture of their house. This is his mother. Must be his family. He was adopted, actually, to this family. This mother says, yes, he was sent home from school. They found his remains, and he was hugging his dog. So they found the boy's remains and the dog's remains. Is heartbreaking. Like I said, the fire had been burning, before and after, but the whoosh of like burning the whole town was like 17 minutes. I believe we established that. There's a fact too. And so he's in his house alone. His mom's trying to get back to him, but the police barricades weren't letting her through. That's another thing that we'll get up to. So he's home alone. It's a blue sky. All of a sudden, everything's black because we've seen video, we've seen pictures. It looks like it's night. So he hugs his dog. He lays down and hugs his dog. And hopefully died of smoke inhalation, but maybe burned alive. Who knows? We don't know. But there were remains, not ashes. He was very ashy, but there were enough remains that they could tell that it was him with the dog. They they picked up his burned body, wrapped it up in a tarp, and carried him to the closest police station, um, to take him there to the police station. This is the only case that I have seen. There were some children. I mean, there's cases of children dying in cars. Well, that's not Home Alone. So this is the only case of a child home alone that died that I can find. Let's see what else you say. The whole climate thing is part of the agenda as well. Foolish people will fall for this crap so they can pass their stupid fear mongering. I think most people have caught on to that. So we can say that it's a fact that the very next day, news stations were reporting that climate change caused this fire. And so there was definitely a media agenda. Let me stop my screen. So there was definitely a media agenda to use this for climate change. And yeah, not wearing blue. Yeah. We can get into blue later. My thumbnail, I found, I used the picture with the blue umbrellas. Yeah, they shamelessly did. And media is a puppet for sure. All the media, the mainstream media, and that includes like Fox and stuff, are all owned by two companies, three companies. And I don't mean like CBS, ABC, NBC. I mean, all of those are owned by like a Viacom or whatever. And it is very interesting that Donut pointed out that all the pictures that you take, 1,000 pictures, the ones you choose, the ones that the mainstream media is choosing, the New York Times, CNN, whatever, they are choosing pictures that have ashes and blue and even if it's like you see the ashes and you see the blue ocean behind, uh, at the horizon, uh, or volunteer, there's probably volunteers in all different colors of shirts, but the pictures that they choose are ones of volunteers in with a blue shirt, you know. Um, and then there's the blue umbrellas, there's blue cars, all this kind of stuff. Pfizer is blue. Yeah. So it's very, very, that's very interesting. But let's get back to facts. So what else do we know happened? We know, number 7, that the police blocked people from getting out. They've said that they're just following orders. They've said the police chief told them to do that. I've heard that the police chief wasn't on the island at the time. That doesn't mean he wasn't in communication. Oh, yes. I think so. You saw them discover the blue t-shirts live. I didn't see it live, but I saw the recording, and this was Eric West, who has real estate, like he's a real estate guy, but he's not trying to buy and sell real estate right now. He's just like totally into like on the ground investigating what's happening. Um, they were, and I believe it was his video, right? You said you're watching it live. Was it Eric West and the real estate guy? So there, yes, his name sounds like Adam West of Batman. Uh, but so for anyone who didn't see this, he was like going through some rubble because at some point early on in the first couple of days he had some access well, you just saw this live, or I don't know when this happened. You can tell me. Oh, it was probably a recording. Okay, so you might have saw a recording of it. Yeah, because I think that he hasn't had access to get back into a burn area, like ground zero, of Lahaina. But he's digging through these ashes, and there's these folded T-shirts that are blue, that are like brand new, untouched. In all that, so like you've got an entire house that's gone. The refrigerator is friggin' melted. There's like nothing left in the house, and there's blue T-shirts that, like, they were folded, ready to be put away in the, like the laundry had just been done or something. Praying. Oh, hey, Salty Sage in the house. Welcome. Yeah, like if you stayed home in a hurricane, yeah, these folded blue shirts, totally untouched. It was crazy. They closed the bridges at 40 miles an hour winds, 40-mile-an-hour winds. And thank you that you're praying for everyone in Lahaina. Absolutely. We definitely send out our prayers. I think as we see new videos, we see new things coming out. Okay, so I guess number 8 is that there are several, I'm going to say it like this, there are several blue items that didn't burn. I'm not saying why they didn't burn. I'm just saying it. We don't have a fact of why they didn't burn, but it's a fact that there are several blue items in the midst of ashes that didn't burn. Okay, that's a fact. The police, we talked about that. The police barricade. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so this guy right here. So here's Adam, and what is the name of his? We'll get to it later because I've got. Well, I can just show you right here real quick. Hawaii real estate. This guy is an old man named Fish that everybody loved, and he got out. And I'm not going to play this, but he tells the story firsthand of when he decided to leave his house, and he was walking out, and I don't think he had like a whole house. I think he was living more like camping kind of style, but that was his living. He left his residence. Excuse me. And he got to the street where the police were blocking the road, and they told him you can't go that way, and he went around them anyway. And he couldn't understand why more people weren't getting. It was like the main road out, but police were turning people away to go back into the fire. And the police, while they haven't said a lot, have not disputed that. In fact, they've said, yes, this was the orders. And I believe briefly they came out and said there were downed power lines on the road going out. And so they didn't want people going that way instead of directing the traffic around the down power lines, they just closed the road and said, no, you can't go this way because of the power lines. That's their story. So they have come. So they're not, while the police chief did deny it for a little bit, said, no, we didn't block any roads. Now they're saying, yes, we did block the roads because there were down power lines. Chalet says, good morning to Sunset Salty Sage. It's fact that they're there. The blue things, yeah. And good morning, mahalo. Where are you located? I mean, not anything so specific to give away, but like, are you actually in Hawaii or the Philippines or New Zealand or or Florida? Um, I'm in Cambodia, of course. Chalet's in Florida. Oh, what pretty emojis. Okay. Um, so what other facts do we know? People jumped into, oh, okay. Here's another fact. Fact number 9. Bodies, about the number, I've heard 180, I've heard 183 bodies washed up on an opposite island from Lahaina. So the current, and it took about a week, I think, before these bodies started washing up. Um, Yet after those bodies started, they were already up to 115 deaths. And these bodies have not, these additional 180 have not been added to that 115. So, I'd be very interested to know. I mean, they're only counting identified deaths? And so if some, even though, I mean, so could they why could they just give the information? We have retrieved 500 bodies, but only 115 of them have been identified. Is there any kind, I mean, oh, this is an ongoing investigation. They haven't said that here, but that's the typical line. We can't get reveal too much because it's an ongoing investigation. I don't think numbers like that would hurt anything. In fact, by not saying something like that fuels people speculating and everything. Yes, the people in the ocean, the people that jumped into the ocean were there for hours because it was too hot to go back, and they couldn't, they didn't want to go out to sea. And they're, before Coast Guard and stuff and some boats came and helped rescue people out of the water. Obviously, some of them did not make it. That was Mama Kitty, by the way, if you saw her jumping. They just aren't giving out any information. Exactly. And it is crazy. And they shouldn't have anything to hide. There should be transparency. Let me tell you, living in Cambodia, the United States, England, all these developed nations are always talking about democracy and rule of law and transparency. It's a big, big, NGO, UN type of word that all these developing countries that have corruption and dictators and this and that, whatever, they need to have transparency. But where's the transparency here? There's not any. Oh, you watched The Burning Man. Okay, we're gonna ramble a little bit. I watched that this evening. For anyone who doesn't know, um, in fact, if you don't know what Burning Man is, it's in Nevada once a year, or I think it's every year now. I mean, I think at some points it was like every 2 years or something. It wasn't every year, but pretty sure it's every year now. In Nevada, there is a desert area known as a playa, which is like a dried lake bed kind of thing. And so people go there. I'm not going to get into this, isn't about Burning Man, so I'm not going to get into the whole history of how it started. But what it is people go, and there's no buying or selling. Everybody brings stuff and shares stuff. It's very artsy. It's very, I mean, you got, it's like, it, hedonistic, I guess some people would say. The ranger, the ranger dude, yes, and you were clapping, yeah. So anyway, it's very expensive. I mean, now they make tickets. You have to buy a ticket to go. They set up an entire city, and then when it's over, they pack everything up and go. And there's supposed to be like a leave no trace. There's a controversy about whether there really is leave no trace on this playa, but anyway, that's the concept. They all come, and we're talking thousands, and it's very organized, where people can park, and it's always made into like if you're from the air, you can see some kind of almost like a crop circle kind of stuff, right? It's all where people are set to park and stuff, and of course they always have a big effigy that burns. That's why it's Burning Man. And so there's a state highway, 2-lane, which means you have one lane going this way and one lane coming the other way, right? And the rest is all desert. And they some climate change activists, I guess is that what they were calling themselves? They took a trailer that was basically just the frame of a trailer, or if you can imagine a trailer that you would put a boat on, how if the boat's not on it, it's just the metal frame trailer. I don't think this was a boat trailer, because it wasn't like, didn't kind of go like that where a boat would sit in it. But it was a flat frame trailer. They chained them. Some of them had chained themselves to it. People had gotten out of their cars because they couldn't go. Traffic couldn't go either way. So people going to Burning Man, that was a long line. But there was also a long line of people just trying to use the road. It's a state road, and they and so someone was like video. Well, I'm sure a lot of people were, but watching one of them, and bunch of big strong men were trying to come up and move everything, like pick up the trailer and kind of move it, and some of the not all of them were chained to it, and so some of the activists were like trying to like no, like they'd move it a little bit and they'd move it back or whatever, and then finally the police came. The first police car stopped in front of the trailer. The second police car just came up and went bam and pushed that trailer out of the way he wasn't in a police car, he was in a police truck. And then they arrested them all and everything. And yeah, oh man, there were huge campers and RVs. Yeah, and some people were like going around in the dirt on the shoulder. Brainwash zombies. Yeah, I think in this case that's true. Meanwhile, look at all that fuel and oil that was burning while they had to sit there, for sure, because this is the desert. People need their aircon. Of course, once they get there, there's not going to be. It's for like 3 days, I think. I don't think, at least originally, there wasn't anybody having aircon. A ranger. That's right. It did say ranger on the truck. This is true, because I think at some point I heard someone mentioning that it was like tribal land at that spot where that they had chosen to stop on the road. So that was kind of, if you haven't seen that, feel free to look it up on YouTube. Okay, so let's watch a little bit, just maybe 3 or 4 minutes of Hawaii real estate. So let me share my screen again. This time I'll just share the tab. Chrome tab, it is this one. Audio is on. So you're going to see how in this area of Lahaina, all of the houses are standing. There was this is not an area that the wildfire came to. Now, it is true that embers can get blown through the air and land someplace different. So you have spot fires. Okay, that's a thing. But let's just watch the video and then I'll check out your comments.
Because you have this small field with some grass
Yeah,
that
is that
burned,
nuts or what?
right? You can see where the grass burned. But then you have these two vehicles sitting in here that have melted
Oh, yeah, it's
aluminum. So Donovan, if you want to just take us through this car real quick and show us, I know you know a few things about cars. You can point out some things that require a very high temperature. By the way, we just talked to the neighbor who was talking to an investigator in Lahaina Town yesterday, and he said the investigator told him the temperatures reached in excess of 3,000 degrees. So tell us what you got, Donovan.
Well, we have about 300 degrees for aluminum, and this
300?
1300.
1300, okay, thank you.
1300, well, 1220, but if you round it up, because it was not only melted, it was liquefied to the point where it
ran
became
down the side of the hill.
a river of aluminum going down the dirt hill.
So this is the aluminum rim, obviously. There's the tire, what's left of it, the steel threads or steel belts.
And maybe combination gas tank if the gas tank's aluminum.
Okay, okay. So you have liquefied aluminum running down the side of a grass fire.
The caliper melted, unless they stole it, but it looks like the bolts are still there. So that, and then you get the steel belts of the tire, which is just a bunch of a wire mesh laying there, and you have the windows that were melted, the back window. If you look at the big old, like almost like
the glass is just melted.
Okay, so I want to pause it there just for a moment to mark another fact. Metal, various metal was melted. Glass, number 11, glass was melted. Okay, let's watch just a little bit more of this, and then I'll pause it so you can see more of this car.
Yeah, it was
dripping.
This is almost what you would see if you put a car in an incinerator.
But this is not surrounded by a bunch of structure fires or anything.
Yeah, there's no fuel.
So besides the gas that was in the tank, what's your theory on what could create temperatures of this level in the middle of a field?
Anomaly, I think is the word.
So this is the second anomaly.
Yeah, it's just that's why I stopped. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, house. Nothing's burned. And then you have melted steel and glass. And then the only thing that is left is the steel, the thick steel frame, and then the steel sheet metal.
So I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but the media has not been given access to Lahaina Town. Everything is locked up. Matter of fact, this gentleman next door, he was on Front Street yesterday and he was supposed to get access, and then the mayor shut it down because people were taking pictures. So they don't want pictures taken of anything in Lahaina Town because they don't want you to see this would be my guess. Because the more that you take a look at this, and especially in this scenario, if there was a car like this in the middle of Lahaina, you might think to yourself, well, okay, it was in the middle of this major burn. There's an animal that died here or something. I'm smelling that looks
must
like
be a cat that was under there.
That smells like a dead something.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
Maybe.
sad. That is so sad. That's someone's dog.
Okay. Alrighty. So anomalies. Anomalies. Yeah. Coincidence, happenstance, how about evil? Yeah. Something rotten is in Denmark, right? I believe that was from Hamlet. Very weird. And I think that if people were in Lahaina, they would see more of that. More examples of things that really had to get a high temperature to melt the way that they did. And also, what did burn and melt and what didn't. Something stinks in Denmark. Yeah. So I have an idea about the missing children. And I mean, that might move things forward, because obviously the Department of Education at least has been more willing to talk than other agencies, at least. I'm guessing that there are state records, county records, not only records in paper that might have gotten burned, that somewhere there are records of the kids who were enrolled and attendance. Let's go with attendance records. I mean, I would think that that the administration at the schools that day took attendance and entered it into a computer before the kids were sent home. This attendance was then uploaded statewide or countywide, something like this, right? So let's assume there are attendance records that exist. Then, so like if I was running the Department of Education there in Lahaina, that was over Lahaina, would get the attendance records and see who was at school that day, and therefore who was sent home. We also have, based on the enrollment records, the addresses of where these kids live. So let's cross-reference that and make a list and make a grid, like a map. Let's make a map of where the students lived, and let's have investigators, whether it's police or FEMA or National Guard or whoever, go to those addresses with the dogs. I mean, there was, the first 2-3 days, they had like 3 dogs, and then when they had like 15 more or 18 or something, they had, dogs that were flying in from the mainland. So they had all these dogs helping to do recovery. So, and I'm sure that they had, I mean, it would make sense that they would be going house by house by house. But let's let the citizens. I'm some kind of government official. I'm a mayor. I'm a councilman, councilwoman, whatever. I had like some spit go down the wrong way, And it's like my constituents, the people I represent, are coming to me and asking me, where are the children? Not like the one guy that we've got plenty of video of him having his little press conference, and then one of the people asks, well, where's the children? And he's, oh, well, if you don't want to wait your turn, then we'll just shut down this press conference. No, I would be in front of the camera saying, I hear you. You're concerned about the children. Where are the children? We're going to do something about it. And I'd have them dogs go to every address that had children who were sent home. It's, like I said, attendance record, enrollment record. It's not in fact, I don't even know that the schools burned. I think the schools might have been in like across this, not in the burn area. I'm not sure. And no, there's some school that did burn because there was a teacher that was like digging through some rubble or something of her classroom. So at least one school burned. So we can get those data points. Let's put these concerns to rest. Get the dogs in those houses. Either they detect some remains or they don't detect some remains. And in this list, we can check off people who have, these 500 or 800, I think a total, 5 and 3, total of 800 people that have registered their children. Okay, take them off the list because we know they're alive because they're registered. Right? I mean, am I do I have a superpower to be able to think up this idea? I mean, I am the creative director of a marketing agency. I come up with ideas. That's my job. You know, is nobody in Maui or Hawaii able to think of this on their own and have the compassion for the residents of Lahaina? Because let me tell you, like, let's the dog story, the boy hugging the dog. The police stopped that mother from going to the house, right? They stopped her. The kid died. But if they had let the mother get through, depending on if this was at 3:00, she would have had time. But I think there was already smoke and everything, right? So it's potentially possible that if the mother had gone to the house to get the son, they wouldn't have had time to get back out and they both would have died. Right? That's possible. Maybe there were parents who did get in to try and get their kids and they died with their kids, so there's nobody reporting them missing. That's a possibility. But it can't be that hard. Like I said, you know the houses. You have enrollment records. You know where these students live. Maybe somebody moved and didn't update but not thousands. Let's look at your the Department of Education is evil across the board, or do a whole show on that at its core. Yeah. Oh, wait, that's too logical. Yeah, logical. Nobody's got logic or common sense, it seems. They don't want you talking about this. Yes, it's total media blackout of the burn area. Now, I understand it's like if there are a lot of dead bodies, which they're only saying, oh, there's only 115, you know, if it's so littered with dead bodies that anybody coming in is trampling, I'm not even going to say a crime scene. In their mind, they're not saying people are trampling on a crime scene. They're saying that people are trampling on the remains of people and they don't want the area desecrated. Okay. I can buy that logic. But what about areas that, it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. So what, this street has been cleared. This street has been cleared. Up this street, down, down the next street. I'm sure they've got a grid that they're working on. They can't be that stupid not to have a grid that they're going house by house, street by street, clearing the areas with all their dogs that they have, right? I saw one thing that was like the body bags of the remains that they're finding are being put in refrigerated trucks, like temporary morgues. They're just refrigerated trucks. And they're full. They have that many remains, but the dead's only 115 for 2 weeks. They haven't collected, either everybody's ash or they're lying. Give me another option. There's an A and a B. Where's C? You tell me C, because I'm only seeing A and B here. You're breathing the smoke, apparently. They're being shut up. Somehow. People are being shut up. And yeah, because it really is. And I know that this Eric West guy has even put out a call. If you're missing, he says, I'm not seeing anything about, I hear everybody talking about the missing kids, but I don't see any individual saying my kid's missing. So if you're missing a kid or he's trying to gather a database, He set up a special website that people can go to and they can enter their name and who they're looking for, whether it's a child or an adult, to try and match people up, uh, and I haven't heard an update from him about this, about what's the success, how many people registered. He should do that. He should update that. So he's got this thing and he's trying to make it where they can gather this information. So if the authorities aren't going to gather this information, he's doing what he can to gather this information, right? So we've got 11 facts counted. Media blackout, that's a fact. They're admitting that. Oh, how about it's a fact that FEMA people kicked out, literally took expensive hotel rooms for themselves. Nobody's denying that happened. Those hotel managers, owners wanted to give the rooms to victims, and they were not allowed to give them to victims because FEMA wanted them for themselves. Now, one thing that's not reported is FEMA paying the money. Is FEMA paying full rate? Because that's kind of one of the things. Oh, all this money should be helping the people, but they're spending it on these rooms. Or did they say, oh, you're willing to give these rooms up? Well, we're going to take them and staying there without paying. I don't know. So that's a whole thing. Whose tale is that? That way. That's Cassie. That's Cassie Casanova. But it is a fact that FEMA is staying in expensive hotel rooms. I mean, hotels that their rates are expensive. Like I said, I don't know if they're actually paying or not paying. But those rooms were supposed to go to victims, and they refused. They said, no, you're not going to do that. FEMA, I've known for like 20, 30 years that if there is, for example, the Constitution, something that legislators have never done is call for a constitution, not amendment, convention, constitutional convention. And if somebody, like, I guess maybe it has to be presented and then like seconded. I'm not sure if it's just somebody, even all it takes is one legislator to say, I want a constitutional convention, and it has to happen. Maybe you have to have one, and then at least one more, like second the motion kind of thing. But if a constitutional convention is called for, there's an immediate suspension of all laws, because all laws are based on the Constitution, and the convention has to write a new constitution. And if that happens, FEMA is in control. There's no more president. There's no more, there's no more legal system until the Constitutional Convention comes up with a new constitution. So FEMA has scary powers. We all know about FEMA camps, like in Utah and things like this, that have been set up for potential disasters to help give people a place to be. And then we all, there are fears that those could be concentration camps. They could turn into, it's like, oh, there's a disaster, we'll take care of you here. And then they turn into concentration camps. That is a fear that people have. So FEMA has a lot of power. And so once something's declared a disaster, state disaster, national disaster, then FEMA, when FEMA swoops in, you gotta watch out. But you haven't left a comment in a while, Chalet. Missing you. And Salty Sage, I don't know if you're still here. My mom said she was going to try and wake up early enough. I have seen Mount Shasta in the news a little bit. Let's look at Mount Shasta. Just do a tab. We'll go back to this tab and we'll put in Mount Shasta. And then we'll put news. Mount Shasta is closed because of flash flooding. That was 4 days ago. Evacuation warnings issued for debris and mud flows near Mount Shasta 1 week ago. Right? So there, yeah, I've noticed that in the news. So Andy, if you're watching, please, I know you've made a couple of comments on my own and Chalet's videos. But yeah, are you affected by this? Anything else you want me to look up? Let me come back over here. I agree. Do we want to ramble onto something else? Is there anything else about Maui we want to talk about or have me look up? I'm going to close some of these other tabs that we're not looking at, that we already looked at. But yeah, and Mabel, have you heard from Mabel anymore? I know we did hear that she was okay and in physical therapy, and we hope that she can join us again. How about angry New Yorkers about migrants? All right. Angry New Yorkers about migrants. 6 hours ago on Fox Business, New Yorkers are angry over the migrant crisis. Anthony Desposito. These 17 hours ago. At least 400 protesters rage over new migrant shelter at a former Catholic school on Staten Island. Wow. Thousands, Fox News, that's 3 weeks ago though. Okay, but it's still related. Thousands protest New York City's plan to house migrants in a tent city in Queens. So we've got Staten Island and we got Queens. And then, that was all the way back in May. Okay, so. All righty, let's go to images. Mayor Adams warns New Yorkers. I'm a child, don't violate my rights. We need recess. Homeless migrants sleep on the streets of New York City. Migrant shelters on kids' soccer fields. Adams declares emergency, blah, blah, blah. A pizza shop in the middle of New York's migrant crisis. So what have you been hearing? Staten Island, maybe, yeah. Oh, and look. And then here's a welcome to New York. But the headline of the story is attack on asylum seeker in New York sparks outrage over conditions. And there's a nice Jewish man with his little curls and stuff. Interesting. Mayor Adams warns New Yorkers the migrant crisis is coming to a neighborhood near you. Interesting. Here's the Queens one. Queen plans to house migrants in Queens draws an angry protest. Well, if that was 3 weeks ago, and then 4 days ago was Staten Island, then maybe these protests made them change from Queens to Staten Island, where there's only 400 protesters. Let's put Staten Island. Oh, so here's all the 14 hours ago. All these people protesting. Yeah, it's hasn't gotten any better. This has been going on for a long time. I mean, the border issue and immigrants living in Cambodia, and also I've traveled to Europe. I've traveled around Asia. Every country you go to, you need to get a visa, and then you go in. You don't got a visa, you don't go in. Every country in the world. So why, I don't know why it's that hard. Minuteman Caravan. Let me see what happened. Yeah, this was it. So here there was I helped organize a Minuteman Caravan cross country. Let me see when this was. I don't remember. 2006. Okay. Are there any more pictures with it? So here, I'll read you. Leaders. Am I sure? Yeah, I'm still sharing. Oh. Wait. But I need to. I don't want to. Okay, I will copy the link address and put it here. So I'm only sharing this tab. EastValley.com, 2006. Leaders of the Minuteman Project swept through the valley on Wednesday in what was the first stop on a nationwide tour aimed at pressuring the federal government to get tough on illegal immigration. Organizers of the event kicked off their trip earlier in the day in Los Angeles and will spend the next week and a half traveling to 12 cities in the southern half of the country before ending up in Washington, D.C. Members of the 14-vehicle Johnny Appleseed Caravan were, I don't remember Johnny Appleseed Caravan. 14, and we started with only 14. They were greeted at 7:30 p.m. by nearly 150 enthusiastic American flag-waving supporters in front of the state capitol, downtown Phoenix. Jim Gilchrist, this was the official organizer. He was the founder of the Minuteman Project. He hired me to route the caravan so I had to choose the route and which cities we were going to go to. We had to coordinate for the permits at most of the state capitals that we went through, like Phoenix state capital, Atlanta state capital. Did we go through Little Rock in Arkansas, and then we went to Nashville, we went to Richmond. Of course, we were in Texas. We were in Alabama. We went from Nashville down to Alabama, but we didn't do the state capitol in Alabama. Most of them were state capitals. We had to organize the permits, organize the press, you know, everything. And so, yeah, I was the coordinator, basically. And here, this is important. Gilchrist said he and his organization oppose any plan that gives amnesty to illegal immigrants. But I know that his philosophy was also that either they get deported or, you know, stopped and not let in. If they're in and they're illegal, they get deported, or give them help, give them legal representation in order to do the process correctly and to get their visa, get their green card, whatever. He wasn't anti-immigrant. He was only anti-illegal immigrant. That's why I didn't have a problem working for them. Oh my goodness. You've got a lot of comments. Planning on dropping off all these men on Staten Island. There's a video. Oh, it's just the men. It's not families and stuff like this too. That's weird. The people are realizing who they voted for. Do they want the border shut now for globalism? Yeah. Of course, there's always like make a crisis and then provide the solution, right? Order out of chaos. I want to bring America down to a third world country. Yeah, when they talk about equality, they're not necessarily saying let's make everybody rich. They're saying let's make everybody poor, except for the top 1%. Not me, them. Yeah. I know that you're not thinking. You're voicing what they would be saying. Yeah, Johnny Appleseed. I know. That's cool. Yeah, so that's I got a couple pictures. I mean, let's look back and see. Okay, so 2006. We can, because I wasn't sure what year it was. Oh, it was the year before I moved to Cambodia. Duh. That's Jim Gilchrist there, that guy. We got like threats of violence. North Carolina. So we were going through Charlotte, North Carolina, and there were people like I had to give them. Jim Gilchrist wanted to still speak at some place, so we had a permit. The permit got the day we're arriving. They revoked the permit because people started protesting, and then somebody that owned a furniture store said, "Hey, it's like a Walmart-sized parking lot here. Come on down. I support you. You can park your caravan here in my parking lot and have the rally." And the police, because I'm on the back channels on the inside, right? And the police we're getting calls from the police saying, "Don't do it," because even though you're changing your location, you don't have a permit for this location. And and if violence erupts, number one, we're going to have to arrest you. Number two, you could get hurt, and we don't want to have anything like that happen. And so I was saying, look, based on all the information that we have, I think we should skip the rally. And he's like, no, we have to be strong. We have to have our rally, And I said, okay, I had to think of my own personal safety as well. Because I had a lead car. So I had I had this great Chrysler Sebring, 97, I think, 1997 Chrysler Sebring. Let's look it up. I have to still use this one. 1997 there we go. There's no T. Okay. Chrysler Sebring. Convertible. White. It had white with a tan top. Okay. White with tan top. Okay, well, if my top was down, it looked like this. Okay, and oh, it was one of the best cars ever. Oh my gosh, it was so great. And anyway, so back to the story. I said, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drive ahead on the freeway and look for a motel where we can stop, where we can stop the caravan for the night. And if so that we have, I was preparing an exit plan. It's like, okay, go do your thing. If if nothing happens, great. If it starts looking bad and you need to say, okay, because it's not just Jim Gilchrist, it's all these other people. As we go across the country, more and more people are joining the caravan. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So these people could be injured and stuff as well. And so it's like, okay, those who want, okay, you guys go do that. If it starts to feel dangerous at all and you need to leave, I will have been ahead and found some place for you to go to. Right? Because that's how I roll. It ended up, no violence broke out. Everything was okay. All those Obama lovers out there, there's some gay stuff coming out about Barry. Of course, it's old stuff for me. I saw some stuff too, some headlines about Michelle/Michael Obama. And no offense if you're a liberal out there, that's what's being said, that they're possibly not just faking it, but maybe sex change, transgender. I don't know. I don't know why he just didn't come out and say, I'm gay and then married to a man. Wasn't part of the plan, I guess. I mean, it's one thing for America to be ready for a black president. It'd be another thing for America to be ready for a black gay president, right? But I will say that in the moment, because it's like, you have all these presidential, debates and who's running and who's campaigning. It was like out of left field, out of nowhere. Who's this Barack Obama? Just one day, there he is. And he comes out on a stage to give a speech. I don't know if it was at a debate or just some kind of speech. In fact, it might have been the Democratic convention when he was chosen to be the Democratic nominee. It might have been that. But it was the first time ever Michelle Obama and the two girls come walking on the stage to stand next to him. This part is what I remembered. They come walking out on stage, and I looked at them standing there waving at everybody and whatever, and I was like, they're going to win. I knew it because it was the image. And it's like the difference between Kennedy and Nixon. It was the first time there was a debate on TV, and Kennedy he captured the TV audience, and Nixon completely failed, being all sweaty and this and that, whatever, right? And so he lost and Kennedy won. And I just had the same sense. It's like they're going to win. I knew it. Cool car. Thank you. I loved it. It was a great car. He never would have become president. Rhetorical. Well, yeah, if he said he was gay, for sure. And then the media made him a god. Absolutely. Media. That's what I mean. The media controlled it. And he had the image because of the media together lifting up that image. They can make anyone a god or a devil. Yeah. And a fake image. I'm not sure which fake image. Oh, the image, whether it's being a god or being a devil, that image that the media makes is always fake. Yeah. They wouldn't let you look into his background. If you did, you were racist. I know. See, I get, I got my friend Bob is very anti-Republican, but he's more like for social. He lived in Germany for a long time, and he's very much he's very pro-union, And so therefore, but now he's starting to see that they're not, the Democrats are just way out there too. You see, because that's what I've always said. Because he's like, oh, Trump, that, Trump won't give over his tax returns. And I'm like, yeah, well, Obama wouldn't give over his birth certificate, and that's like a requirement. I mean, you have to be an American citizen. You have to be at least 35 years old, right? I think that's the only two things. And in fact, I take that back. I don't even think that it says you have to be an American citizen. It says you have to be born on American soil. Because you could be an American citizen born someplace else and you cannot be president. You have to be born on American soil. Anyway, so that's like a thing, I mean, that's a requirement. Your tax returns, while they're great, that's not a requirement for presidency, And so I'm like, you want his tax returns and he's withholding them, and you want to hate him for that? Great. Hate Obama too for not giving over his birth certificate. You gotta, so many times they're just so upset. The Trump derangement syndrome, as a lot of people say. But God bless him. I love Bob, and we have great conversations, and we have our great crosswords. Total BS, yeah. Even the blind man can see that, just not the deaf and dumb. Black people are coming out bigly for Trump. I remember him always saying bigly and stuff. Yeah, that's funny. He's a hypocrite. So, yeah, more and more Black people are. And I don't mind saying Black. I don't think it's racist for me to say Black. I was watching, there's been so many shootings. What's up with all the shootings? There was Jacksonville, Florida, and Maryland at a McDonald's. Well, that was a stabbing. No, they weren't born in Africa. Oh, right. African Americans, and then what if someone's from England and they're Black, or Nigeria? What are you going to call, if African American is the term, then what do you call people that aren't American? Yeah, the N-word can be bad, even though I think it's a double standard that Black people can use the N-word for themselves, but no one else can use it. I do call that out as being a double standard. Like either everyone can use it or no one can use it, right? I'm fine with not use. It's not a word I use. It's not something that's part of my vocabulary, so it's kind of a non-issue almost for me. But yeah, don't have a double standard, please. We're supposed to say European American. I'm European American. I'm Chinese American. Well, we do say Chinese American, Japanese American, all this kind of stuff to talk about the ethnicity, right? Total double standard, but tacky either way. Yeah. Anyway, the police chief or whatever on one of these shootings I was watching was Black, and he kept using the term Black. Oh, because it was the Dollar Tree shooting, that it was racist, that it was a hate crime, racist, that the guy was racist and just wanted to kill Black people. And he was using the word Black to describe Black people, and he was Black. So I think it's kind of coming around full circle that it's okay to say Black. However, I think I've noticed that in writing, if you are referring to people, you capitalize the B. Just a divisive measure to divide and conquer. Absolutely, especially politically, but on any level, gay and straight, gender, non-gender, black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, Irish, or whatever, French, I don't know, Democrat, Republican, keep everybody divided and everybody like squabbling about all this stuff that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're all human. I love it that doctors, if a doctor does surgery on someone, ethnicity, I mean, except for like blood type or whatever, but I mean, the organs, the blood, they can do surgery, let's say heart surgery, stomach surgery, a cesarean section, in any kind of surgery where you open up the body and everything's in the same place, everything looks the same. You don't have green blood and purple blood and some people have their stomach up here and some other people have it way down in their leg or something. No, I mean, they're in relatively the same place. Maybe you're overweight and things have kind of got pushed around a little bit or something, but and your stomach can be kind of a little bit higher, a little bit lower, a little bit center, but as far as your torso, it's like in the same place. We're all human, and what's on the outside and where we've been born. And I love genealogy. I have a lot of genealogy stuff. I love genealogy. I love knowing my roots, right? But at the end of the day, for right now in the present, it doesn't matter. Just because we could rule the world together. Together, we could rule the world. I know. Isn't that like an age-old thing that there's always a majority being run by a small, and I'm not talking just like elites and, the 1% rich and then everybody else. I mean, think of a jail or a prison. You've got all these inmates and just a small number of guards that are guarding them. School, you have all these students and a small number of teachers, right? I mean, it's like a structure of society. A factory, you have all these factory workers and a small number of management. And almost interestingly enough, it reminds me of like when you have a horse and if you ever ridden a horse and you're small compared to the power of the horse, yet because it's trained and you have the bridle and everything, but even if you're riding bareback and you don't have a bridle, you can control that horse. But the horse if the horse had a mind to, they could totally like throw you off their back and trample you. But they don't. We're the same way. Yeah, I know I am. I have like, I don't know, something got in my eye, but yeah, I'm also getting sleepy. I am getting sleepy. Dogs are barking. Like warning barking, like they're barking at something. Hopefully it's just a stray dog walking by or something, but I should probably go check, make sure no one's trying to steal my motorcycle or something. So I'll go check it out. A horse is a horse, of course. Mr. Ed, anybody that doesn't remember that? There you go. Mr. Ed. Grew up watching the reruns. The Talking Horse. That was a good show. Oh, there you go. Oh, a horse is a horse, of course. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, now they stop barking. I'm still going to go out and look and make sure my motorcycle's there. Nobody broke into the yard, and it's in a gated fence, but okay, let's have some prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening, and that we could be together, and that this is on YouTube and other people can watch and replay and join us too. And thank you for Sunset Salty Stage, that also joined us for a little while. And we hope that Mabel can join us again soon, and Andy, and even my mom, Chris, and other friends that I've invited, and Jessa. We miss her as well. So we just pray that you keep us all safe. And we want to pray for the victims of Lahaina, that they get justice, that people keep investigating, people keep speaking the truth, and we find out what happened, not out of curiosity, but because we want justice. So, and we want truth. We thank you for all the good things that you bring into our lives, and even the challenges that we have to overcome, that you're there with us as we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. Unless he's Mr. Ed. Oh, okay. A horse is a horse, of course, unless he's Mr. Ed. That's an hour and a half. Yeah, it's time. Amen. Feels good to pray with you guys. All right. So I'm going to go see, they're barking again. So I'm going to go check out what's going on. I hope you have a great week. I really almost on Saturday, I almost did a live on Saturday morning, but I kind of slept in, and then I made myself some breakfast and whatever, and so then I thought, oh, well, if I do it at night, I could say it's about Saturday morning cartoons, because you guys in America would be watching on Saturday morning. So we could talk about Saturday morning cartoons, which ones were our favorites. I could go online, I could find images or clips and things, and so in the morning and then the evening, and then I was like, meh. I didn't. So who knows? Maybe next week. But good. So thank you for joining me. Sweet dreams. Yes, and you have a great day, and I'll see you again next week. Yes, love you. Bye.